This is the brand new Volkswagen Golf. I've had to retreat inside to get out of that rain that's pounding down outside. It is July, it is beginning of July, but the weather doesn't think it is. The weather thinks it's somewhere around September. But this is the new Volkswagen Golf 8, and we're going to have a good look around this car today because this is one of the most important cars launched in Ireland this year, except for the ID3, which is the two that are coming from Volkswagen. This is the precursor to it, so let's get into it.
In the early 70s, the Volkswagen Beetle was driving the company, but demand was falling, and Volkswagen was struggling financially. The need for a change was growing. The Vauxhall Viva and Austin Allegro were popular in the UK, and in the 1970s, Volkswagen lagged behind those two companies. The Italian automobile designer Giorgetto Giugiaro was invited to design a new model. The Golf was the opposite to the Beetle. It was now front-wheel drive, water-cooled, and much more boxy. They trusted the Italian designer who had designed the Passat for them before, and the Golf was born. By 1976, there was 1 million of them sold, and then the first GTI hit the market. The success of the Golf has been legendary, every generation being more important than the last. So is the Golf 8 up to standard?
So before we get into the inside, let's have a look at the outside. As you can see on this is a 202, so literally just registered the other day. They've changed the front entirely from the other Golf. It actually looks a little bit droopy. And I know it's hard to explain what I mean, but it kind of looks like it's sad in some way. Side profile, as you can see, of the front is it's got a very heavy slope to it there. And we've closed in these vents on the front and stuff, so it really does look like it cuts the wind very well. This is the style model. Those wheels are optional, obviously. Not too sure I like them. They're very filled in, aren't they? You can barely see the brake disc behind them, which is it's okay, I suppose, for some people like that. Side profile here, if I even back out a little bit, is most definitely coming from the Golf 7. This is evolution, not revolution. Then as you come around the back, they have changed the rear tail lights and things. And there is more angles and more sharp lines. There's a very sharp line across the back here. It's a very sharp suited Golf. And then you have the fake exhaust on the back of it, which I'm okay with. Big bangs and clatters here. And then it says ETSI down the back. And if you have a quick look at the boot while we're here, you can see it doesn't disappoint. It is a large boot from the Volkswagen as usual. Shopping bag hooks everywhere. Load-through system there in the back as well. You can see it goes right through the back. There's a light over to one side of it. There's a shopping bag hooks, 12-volt sockets. Tons of space in here, guys. Tons of space. This is exactly what you're looking for in a 5-door hatchback. And when you lift up, you get tons more space underneath here and a spare wheel. You get the lot. Spare wheel included. Very clever car. Okay, so I'm using this camera as well because it's very dark in here and it'd be much easier for you guys to see using the Sony camera instead of just the normal camera inside. So, let me close out of that for a minute. I'm going to use this camera as well to show you little close-ups of what I'm talking about rather than just trying to struggle with that camera in this dark area, right? But you can see in here I have these touch lights which I can touch to turn on and off. Obviously the door is open, but you can touch to turn them on and off, which is a very nice little addition to the Golf. I like that. I also have an electronic dash. So this electronic dash, if I start the car, shows you everything. Now the electronic dash, the manual stuff is gone. That's going to go away now. That's going to be the end of that. We're not going to see any more of those manual things. The manual dash would be specable in certain markets, but right now here today, no, it's not going to be specable at all. So this kind of electronic dash is definitely the way that they're going to go forward. I kind of like it. You can change the view. So if I press the view button on my dash here, I can change the view to other things. You can see here, I can look at the assist systems. There's our sat-nav. That sat-nav is coming from Volkswagen, not coming from Apple Carplay. Into that in a minute. And then you can have two speedos here. You can adjust these things to make them look different. So I can change that over here and go down through the list of things I can have on that display. Average speed and stuff, so you can see the average speed there. We can go that side and keep going down. There's a lot going on, right? So there's a lot happening on that side. Then on this side, I can change it as well. Look, I can change the gear indicators, which is probably good. Consumption, 0.8 of a litre. What else? Oh, that's the wrong side. We want to go this side, and then we can go average consumption, 11.8 litres. That's since start, so that's this morning. Just literally drove up the bloody town in this car. Or you just go to a kind of traditional speedo like that with your kilometres left for empty and the usual sort of stuff. A more traditional looking speedo. So you can see there's an awful lot going on that dashboard, which is kind of nice in its own little way. That being different like that is kind of nice. Now, if I move across in the middle, I have another infotainment system here, which is all touchscreen, but not quite all. So at the bottom here, I'll be able to show it up close now. At the bottom here is the temperature controls. And if I slide my finger on that, you'll see that you can adjust the temperature by just sliding your finger back and forward, which is the nice way of doing it. So I have ended up with physical, not knobs, but physical things to touch, but I'm sliding on a touchscreen. I kind of like that. That's a midway point of having knobs, not having knobs. Underneath that, I have my full climate control button, which is a touchscreen. So touch that and that comes up. You can have our assist buttons, which is this thing here. And you have our parking menu when you want the car to park itself. The boot's open, that's why you're looking at the roof there. So if I go into climate control, these are actual touchscreens more than physical buttons. A physical button is those. It's kind of weird, isn't it? There's a lot going on those. They're kind of hard to see as well, which is a bit of a problem. I mean, when you're driving, when you're looking like this, you have to look down to see where the climate control button is and press it. So it's, you know, you have to, it's easy to miss, right? Volume is dealt with the same way. So another little slidey button here for volume control. And then that button there is actually touchscreen as well. So when I touch that, that's the Volkswagen. That's actually still a touchscreen. So you can see here I get all of this. There's a lot in these menus, a lot for sliding back and forward. There is actually a third menu there, and sometimes it misses it. So when you do that, you've got 3 buttons there across the middle. Now on this is also wireless Apple Carplay, which is here, so you get into full CarPlay system as well. You have that too. And beneath that, I have a wireless tray for wirelessly charging my phone, and I have 2 USB-C ports here. A little tray on this side for carrying something long, like a pen or something. And then you have the start-stop button, parking brake, and then this little Marek Drives describes that as a nipple. So we're going to call it that, right? That is our gear changer now. That is our full parking brake. The actual handbrake going on. And then if I keep going backwards, I've got 2 cup holders. One great big one with a thing you can switch here to make it smaller, so to fit a little cup like this. And then one behind that, which isn't really a cup holder. It's kind of square. It doesn't quite fit anything. Anyway, that's there. At least it's there, I suppose. And if I go back up towards the dashboard, you get these blue lights here, which you'll be able to see behind me as well. Little blue accents everywhere, which is quite nice. That's good. And I have a decent glove box. The vents, the air vents are along here, and they do blow straight into your stomach area, or they blow straight into your elbow as you're driving along. So this here just blows straight at you. If you don't like that, it's really going to annoy you very, very quickly. Your lights and things, this is very kind of a lot to get through here, but the lights and things are done from this little panel over here, of which for the most part you just leave on auto and you won't bother with it ever again. But that is for clearing your windscreen, that is for clearing your rear windscreen. And again, they're kind of touchscreens, but at least they're sort of down at my eye line. They're kind of in the right spot in the eye line part. The interior of this is exceptional. I really like this kind of thing. It works very, very well. We're going to have a look in the back seat and the boot real quick as well before we take it for a spin. Look, it's a Golf. I'm definitely going to fit. It's a Golf. I have tons of room, no problem with room here in space. I have a little map pocket here at the bottom, but actually these 2 little map pockets at the top are quite cool as well. For holding your phone even, just for throwing a phone into or throwing something into, just to have something that's handy near you. We've also got temperature control back here. It's single zone back here, so just 1 temperature control. 2 USB-C ports are underneath here as well. Also have a full armrest, which has a loader through as well, so you can put something long from IKEA or whatever in here as well. Loads belong. And of course, it is simple to drop the seats. They just fold flat. As always, the Volkswagen Golf leads the way in the back seat stuff because it works and just works perfectly every single time. Boo-doo. That's what you're hearing. I just ran over. You're hearing that on the floor above. The Golf, of course, has a lot to live up to. This Golf 8, the best car you could possibly buy for years has been the Golf 7. The Golf 7, the Golf 7.5, the Golf GTI, the Golf R, all of those cars are exceptional in their field. So Golf 8, of course, is going to be hugely comparable to those cars because it either has to beat or at least be the same as Golf 7 to kind of succeed here. Well, I'm happy enough to say that it has. They've certainly sharpened up the steering a little bit. The suspension and dampeners are absolutely perfect. I enjoyed a drive we did last night down to Ballacalla. We went down to see Manor Stone and have a wander around the place down there, and it was lovely. It was just a nice place to drive. With the family in the car, it felt sublime. I was having fun. They weren't even noticing that I was having a bit of fun. It just felt perfect in that respect. Now, I've seen other videos since the Golf 7 or Golf 8 has been released. Videos where the car has already kind of hit the market. It's only hitting the market here today. But I've seen other videos where people are complaining about the build quality or about the quality of the plastics or something. Now, are you mad? What are you looking at? I can't see it. There's carpet in the doors like there was. It's not all around the doors. It's in the plastic. There is a plastic bit of it here. There is this shiny plastic around the edge here, but this is quite normal. This is okay. The quality of the plastic's fine. When you're visually looking at the plastic, it kind of looks like, I don't know, just reflective maybe, a little bit reflective, but it doesn't attract too many fingerprints. I'd say it was quite nice. This is very similar to ID3 as well. I've sat in ID3, very similar layout to this. There's a kind of a homogenization going on across the field. Also, Seat Leon's going to have the same interior. I imagine Skoda Octavia is going to have the same interior. You know, they're all going that way to try and save money and try and make the best car that they can while trying to cut corners in a good way, a way that actually benefits the customer because you're getting better prices to some degree. But speaking of prices, let's go through them.
Prices in Ireland for the Golf start with the Life version, which is 27,750, then to Style, which is 30,750, and then the R line, which is probably the most desirable of all, is 31,050 euro. Now, of course, you're going to add some options to that, but that's the basic starting prices for all of them in 1 litre TSI.
So engine, I'm driving the 150 horsepower 1.5 litre TSI or ETSI as it says in the back, which has a mild hybrid or hybrid assist system in it, which is part-time electric. So basically the car charges the battery runs the alternator and runs the 12 volt battery that runs the lights and bits. So the pressure of running anything electrical in the car is taken off, the 12 volt is taken off the alternator and it's put back into the ETSI. It also assists the engine, seemingly, in getting up to speed. Whether that's true or not, don't know, but it does feel quite torquey in the corners, and you do feel a resistance come on, similar to the braking resistance you get in an electric car. You do feel it when you lift off your foot, you feel a resistance at the engine, and you see the speed or the rev counter goes to 0 going down a hill as it switches off the engine too. But when you put your foot down, you get a nice bit of torque, you get a nice noise, there's a petrol engine out there in front, and you're up to speed. There, I am doing 120 now already. Perfect. Speaking of 120 on the motorway, of course you can always just turn that on, ACC, and then you set your speed you want to go, and the car looks after the rest of it for you. That's that. it's engage, and off you go, and the car does the driving there on out. So I was using active cruise control. Now it's measuring the distance to the back of that Passat CC or CC that's out in front of us, one of the prettiest cars in the market. That car is being measured now, and I'm matching his speed perfectly. What more could you want? You want to cross the entire Autobahn, you want to go across the M25, you want to go wherever you want to go, this car is going to take you there, and it's going to take you there with petrol power and a small bit of electric. Now, one thing I did notice is when you're driving along without the active cruise control turned on, and when you lift your foot off the accelerator, it feels like the brakes have come on. It actually feels like I'm getting rolling resistance in the car. And it's kind of disturbingly so, it's kind of weird. Now, you also get other reminders on the dashboard when you're driving through towns or driving through country roads. It tells you to lift your foot off the accelerator, which is it telling you to slow down because there's a roundabout ahead, or because there's a pedestrian crossing ahead, or a speed bump, or whatever it's noticed in its nav, that's kind of interesting. It's kind of part of that active system inside the car that's telling you what to do and will basically take over for you when you want to. This also does active lane keeping. Even though I don't have active cruise control turned on now, it's actually actively keeping me within the lanes as well. So it's quite nice. The system itself doesn't intrude too much, but I do think that braking, regenerative braking that it's doing, like now when I take my foot off and it feels like the brakes have come on, makes me want to accelerate again. You get what I mean? So I feel like I'm slowing down too much, so I put my foot back on the accelerator, which feels like a waste of energy. In higher spec models, you can choose the setting you want this car to go at. There was sport, eco, all that sort of stuff. There'll be a button down here. It's actually blank on this car. It isn't there, but I've seen it on other ones. This is a style model. It's probably going to be one of the more popular models to have. Possibly not this colour, although I do think it's great as a press car. It attracts brilliant attention for photography and video. It's great, but to live with it for you, for yourself, I think a more traditional colour is going to be worth a bit more money on the way out of this car. When you go to trade it in, you're going to want a silver, a black, a white. You're going to want some other sort of colour. It'll be the more extreme among you who would want something like this. Of course, you'll find another video on my channel for the Golf GTI, which is coming later on this year, or maybe next year. And of course, ID3, which is what we're all waiting for, the electric version of what Volkswagen's capable of doing as well, which we're hoping to see later on this year, somewhere around November. So you see the dashboard has a lot of information on it as well about coming up to roundabouts and stuff. You know, eco comes up in the corners, all kinds of stuff happening in the car. It seems really active and very engaged with the driver. It seems to want to bring the driver along for a drive as well as be an assistant to you. And I kind of like that. It feels like Volkswagen, this is a car company, a good car company, making a really good car. And that's kind of what I really enjoy about the car is actually fun to drive as well. Even in this 1.5 litre TSI, there is other models available. Obviously, they'll all be coming on the market at once. You can actually drive this at your local dealership already. Because of COVID-19 lockdown, the national launches and stuff are all pushed back, so the car is just on the market now. I think it's probably not as good or as remarkable as the Golf 7 when it came out, because the Golf 7 was extraordinary versus the competition. It felt something completely different. Whereas this feels like an evolution of Golf 7. So it's like Golf 7.95. We're nearly there, you know what I mean, in the Golf 8. And still, it does make a lot of sense. It's still a really good car. It's never going to lose money on you too much because it's a Volkswagen. Volkswagens are always worth a good bit of cash on a trade-in. So you'll always have a car that you can like and enjoy. The gearbox is sublime. Really, you can't feel those gear changes anymore. The fuel economy is very, very good. The mild hybrid system, you just won't notice it. Don't worry about it. Don't even think about it. You're not going to pay attention to this mild. You don't have to plug it in or do anything to it. It's just there, doing what it's supposed to do in the background. And that's perfect for me. Right, I think I've answered all your questions about Volkswagen Golf 7, hopefully, on this really wet and miserable crap day for summer. This is awful. Hopefully you will join me for the next video, so hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, hit the other thing you're supposed to hit as well. There's also a list of links down below that you can support the channel from. It'd be really appreciated if you could, because we always trying to get to the next video, which is the big thing of this channel. Anyway, thank you very much for watching and subscribing, and until the next time, I will see you on the far side.